Okay, good. Okay, awesome. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the Artist Talk for In Between number 6. This evening we have live Aina and Alo, who are truly artists, and Minsun is joining us from London. Unfortunately, Baltrin is in Kosovo in regards to a project there, and Aina has a project this evening in Berlin. However, we would recommend checking out our YouTube channel as well as Instagram afterwards, because we will be having answers and responses from Aina and Baltrin following this live artist talk that we're having right now. One of my joys is actually getting to know the artists, not for only for the work that they produce, which you can see part of it in the gallery now. However, for just who they are as individuals. And I think there's so much in our life, we go around and we are able to get to know people through things that they've done, and sometimes we don't get to know people for who they are. And that's what this opportunity for this evening is not just hearing about their works, but hearing about the person behind their works. And this evening we have Nina, who is is on our team working with the gallery and the coordination there. And she will be the person interviewing Alo, Minsun, and Yolanda. And so thank you so much for joining us this evening, and please enjoy the artist talk.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome again to the artist. And as Chris was saying, we are all about stories and hearing your story. We would like to hear more about your background as an artist and your story that led you here. So, shall we start with you, Mona?
So I guess since I was a kid I used to draw. My mom always said that I was very artistic. When she was cooking, she was arranging all the vegetables on the table, like carrots, tomatoes, potatoes, and I always used to draw them. So I think that was a good start for me to get very precise in forms and shapes and colors. And then I think later on, it just happened that I took a different path. So I did not study art, or even though I knew that in my heart that I was, that I was a creative person. But just later on, I think I was around 21 years old, I went to England to study art photography in an undergraduate course. And I think that was the best decision I took, because it changed since then, my life and a creative point of view. So from that point of view. So yeah, this is how, like, a bit of background of how I started, and
So you chose photography as your medium. Can you tell us more about your approach with photography and your philosophy around it?
Yeah, I think I've noticed that sometimes I do work which relates with me, but sometimes I also create work which doesn't have nothing to do with me. So I'm not exactly sure, what is my approach, but definitely I think it's a representation of who I am and what's happening in my head. Sometimes there are things which I just think of and I just put them visually. But as an approach, I do love documentary photography. I think this is actually, street photography was one of the things which got me into photography, and I think capturing the moment, the decisive moment that also Cartier-Bresson says, he's one of my favorite photographers. I think that idea of capturing something that it will last forever in images, that's, I think, the reason that I went into photography.
So it captures and keeps the legacy going through time.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you, Juan. Alo, what's your story?
My background in art?
In art, in general, how did you start with it?
I was lucky enough to have a really creative family, and so that was just a big part of my upbringing. Helping my mom teach art, and taking art classes myself, and just continued that all the way into college and now.
Okay.
Kind of a nice straight line.
So you had your role models at home,
I did.
and inspiration. Can you tell us more about your medium and why you choose it?
I enjoy playing with a lot of different mediums, but I think that the ones that come most automatically to me are the 2D work like drawing or printmaking or painting, and I really enjoy the feeling of translating something through my hands onto a different surface.
Nice. So it's painting and using your hands
Yeah.
directly. Great, thank you. Minson, what about your story?
I was always interested in doing art, but I started drawing when I was in high school. I usually did painting until I get into university. But when I was applying to university, I thought there are so many friends who is talented in painting. So I thought maybe I should learn another technique or skills to do my craft art. So after university, it was the time that I started textile art. So now I'm doing kind of sculpture like textile art with weaving, screen printing, and mixed media.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And when you talk about textile, what is your philosophy around designing the textile that you do?
I think textiles is really kind of spread into a lot of areas like fashion, discipline, or like interiors, or like sculptural arts, or more like fine arts. But I think textile art can be broad and useful, I think, for me. And we can find them everywhere we want because it's using materials. So I think like textile art is anything that you could think of material, that is all textile art.
Great, thank you. So we want to also know about what brought you to this residency. Like you had to work within a group for 4 weeks in Berlin. So what made you take this decision, Luana?
I think it was, it's the idea of collaboration. I think this is for me, I think the second time on a collaborative project here at Toothache. So I think it was just hard to say no, just because I know that you never know what will your work look like in the end, because your work is shaped by the artist that you work in that week or actually in those 4 weeks. So I think I find it very interesting how your perspective gets shaped by everyone, and then the outcome can be something unexpected. So I think that's the reason why I love being part of In Between.
Okay, nice. And Adelaide, what about you? You live in the US and you're here in Berlin and you decided to join this program.
Yeah, I had already been planning to be in Berlin for about a month and to make some artwork, and I was looking for some opportunities to be part of the larger community, and found this one and thought it seemed like a really great way to get to know people and work together, and to really be able to do some more significant work.
Was this your first kind of collaborative opportunity to work with other artists, or have you done something similar before?
No, I've had quite a few opportunities to collaborate.
Okay.
with other
And
artists.
how is this different compared to other things you've done?
This one was different because we gathered together without a preconceived reason for the collaboration, right? It wasn't that you were necessarily coming together over a specific project or something that required collaboration. It was more the grouping of artists to then develop a collaboration, and that's kind of the opposite approach to many of the other collaborations I've done.
So you like the idea that you can come up with your own theme based on your dynamics as a group and your personalities and your mediums.
There's some interesting risks and opportunities with putting people together and then asking them to build something. And so that was a really fascinating experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, so what motivated you to join this program, and was it your first residency?
Yes, it was my first residency, and because I graduated this July, after graduation I felt like I am wandering around, and I there's nothing where I can fit in. And then I found this residency and thought maybe with other artists I could feel integrated or linked together. I wanted to have some different point of view of my art. And so, yeah, I think it was nice to be in Berlin because I've never been in Berlin. That was the other reason that I applied for the residency.
And how did you find creating art in Berlin compared to back home?
For like studio, I think it was really different environment where I was in because I usually worked in like textile based studios, so there was like big diagrams or sex screen tables or rooms, but it was quite limited. But it was so it was challenging, but it was nice to push my brain to work in limited environments. And I like the atmosphere of the Berlin and like how to work. I don't know. I cannot really like express how different it is from London.
Okay.
London, I feel like London is more like crowded and there's a lot of things I cannot concentrate. But I think Berlin was big because I was like in residency. I could concentrate for weeks fully.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite more intense within 4 weeks. Great. And just to go on about your point that you have to come together and come up with your own theme. What was the story behind the tongue follows the toothache? Yeah.
So the tongue follows the toothache idea came out of a lot of conversations that we'd had and some topics that we kept returning to, and really kind of overall this feeling that each of us as artists have we have our own specific interests, but they all do seem to center kind of around the body or experience or memory, and in each of our work we seem to be kind of pushed to reinvestigate kind of similar topics over and over again. And Vajran came up with the idea of this Kosovian proverb, which is the tongue follows the toothache, which I think is a nice phrase because I think it's quite open, but it references that kind of drive, that inability to not keep returning to something, and it might be painful or just unusual or really exciting, but that there's kind of a pressure point that we're all drawn to. And I think that also kind of encapsulates the feeling of this residency itself, not in terms of an ache, but in the fact that we are all kind of drawn together into one spot of pressure. And yeah, that's kind of where this came together.
So there's always something still nagging on us somewhere that needs to be addressed, or perhaps on our behalf unconsciously
something
sometimes.
asking to be further explored.
Further explored. So
As we like to call it, it's an ache.
it's an ache. So get curious about it.
Yeah.
What would you add to that, Joanna, to the story of you coming together around this theme? How was it for you?
Yeah, I think we, after we were talking, I think we brainstormed some ideas, and just the title was missing, but everything else was actually, so much connected, like with our backgrounds and our memories and our lifestyle and things which happened to us and things which actually we do carry, and I think just this title just emphasized what we talked for the last maybe few days, and then when Valerie said this, all of us were like, especially I think Alo and me, I was like, we love it. Yeah, Valerie was like, yeah, no, it's great. So I think it was a matter of just he said it and we just thought like instantly that it's good. That's our title.
It's faulty. You put everything together.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And so can you talk us more about the different arts and mediums? How did you connect your stories through your mediums?
Yeah, it's just Joanna, as I said, with what Waldron said about the phrase. Just the day before, we just talked about like cultural backgrounds and cultural differences, politics of our own countries, and personal like stories and so on. So I personally like interpreted this phrase that like we do not want our backgrounds to be seen and judged, but it's always like following us, and we are also doing the thing to others too. And like even though we don't want to be judged, we have to be judged, and we are judging because we are like living in a community, that like social life that we cannot resist this reality. So with this kind of repetitive kind of humans kind of mistake, I thought it was like it cannot end, and I felt like it was like a circle, and so I kind of added like diagrams in my tapestry work, and thought it was like a puzzle we have to manage, but some pieces are missed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. Your textile did look like a puzzle,
Yeah,
and that there are still missing pieces, or there are hidden pieces from people, and there are certain pieces where we show to people, or they want to see it more in us than we want to, give the spotlight to. And Adelie, you painted this series of hands. Can you tell us more about the sequence and what was the message in your paintings?
I was really fascinated by, and have been fascinated by for a long time, various instructional diagrams where complicated things and complicated ideas are simplified into really basic steps. And I like the idea of kind of taking that simplicity of a diagram and complicating it back, and instead of making something really clear, to take a simple gesture and to make it very complex. And so I don't, the title is Care Instructions, and to me that speaks enough about the meaning of the piece, and I think it's quite open for people to interpret. But it is this series of these hands bandaging another hand, presumably from another person, and that kind of fundamental act of care that starts in being broken down and in being so specified starts to kind of have bigger echoes, hopefully.
That's very nice, care instructions. And they start with the hands usually. Touch, hug, or attending to a wound or something, right? Nice. And Ioana, you have a picture of you on the first day here in Berlin.
It's true, yeah.
And it's connected to a bit with Vincent's textile. And they look like roots here. So can you tell us more about your first day in Berlin and what was the story about?
Yeah, so it was actually not the first day.
Okay.
It was after a year.
After a year,
I moved
okay.
here. And then I had to decide if I should still stay here, because I only came in Berlin for an internship.
Okay.
And then I was meant to go back to Italy.
So you're at crossroads deciding.
Exactly, there was at the crossroads, yeah. So I was in a coffee shop and I was writing my journal, and I think it was 6th of January. And there was no snow outside, but still the fact that I think the window reflected this blue light.
Yes.
I think it was still in between day and dark, so I think there was still that light, like bluish light. I think that's something which I really love. So I took a selfie, but it was just mainly because I loved what was happening, next to me, and I said, I'm gonna capture this. And I also loved how the flower was just there in the window. And then years after, I realized when I looked at that at this image that that was the day when I decided to stay in Berlin. So for me, even though it's a selfie, It's a self-portrait, you can call it both. But it's a reminder for me that, then I made a decision to stay. So the roots also represent this, and I think with Minsun, we were talking, and she was listening about what I was saying, and also like her work and what she does, and this image is just a small piece from my past. So I think in a way, it was great for me to collaborate with Minsun. Because she just gave life to an image which was only on my phone.
Yeah.
And it means so much to me now, this image, just because Minsun, she brought her own perspective. Yeah, and I think it's this idea of, obviously, after that, I grew roots in this town, like everyone else. So I think it's
They're growing new
metaphorically.
Because usually when we think
Yeah.
about roots, we think usually back home.
It's
And
true.
back home for you is Romania, right?
Yeah.
But you decided that roots can be planted elsewhere.
It's true, and I think I did question the notion of home a lot since as a nomad, I've been in England for 4 years, and then now I'm here for 5, so more than I lived in England. Then I think obviously for us, people who they don't live in their hometown or in their country, you do start to question where is home. I think everyone questions that.
Yes, absolutely, everyone questions
Yeah.
that. But it's appealing that home can be in different places.
It's true, and I think it is, yeah.
And can you also tell us more about the QR code that was very inviting and took people to places? What was the idea behind it?
Well, the idea, I think, it came because I had a ticket which was never printed. So, and I wanted to showcase a memory of mine. But because that ticket was never printed, I was thinking, how can I actually show this ticket in a gallery? And I thought, okay, I can just, because it was a digital ticket, I thought I'm just going to print it, and I can add, and I can put that ticket on the wall. But this would have been a bit too easy for me. I always love to integrate technology in my work as a photographer, and I think also because we as photographers, we work with a lot of data, and everything now goes online. I think I'm very interested of how technology also shapes our lives. So I think this is how the idea of QR code came, because I wanted people to see my story like in different chapters. What you see here, it's only like the first chapter. You have no idea where this picture was taken, and that was actually intentionally made that way, so that the QR code actually hides the location of what will be next to this story. And it's the same with us people. When you see me first, you might not know what I'm hiding, or you might not know what I'm going through, or there are so many things about us as as human beings, and you cannot know everything about someone like instantly. You have to ask questions. You have to be curious. You have to allow yourself to engage with that person. So the title of my work, it's called Encounter, and it's a small memory which I've translated it in this way. And QR codes was the way for me to make this story in chapters. And they are actually 3 chapters. So what you see, and then what you scan, and then afterwards, if you're curious enough, then you can go even further. And that was also intentionally, because sometimes if you want to know someone's pain or someone's secrets or somewhere, like very intimate, you do have to make that step forward. You do have to ask the question. So I think that was then the second QR code, which is comes after this. It's a bit confusing. People, they don't know if part of the ticket or should I scan it or not.
So it keeps them curious.
Exactly.
To go further.
Yeah. So I love that few people in that night they didn't scan it, but some of them they actually. What if this QR code continues? And
So it was a different behavior when people were
and I love that because it brought me this question: should I go further? Is it maybe something else in the story?
Yeah.
And I think also in my work I do love to interact with my and to question, and to bring them in, like to bring them in my world, in my story, in that fragment, in the past.
Great. And I know Valdrin is from Kosovo, and Aina joined as well from Japan. They're not here with us, but maybe can you give us a little bit brief about how their arts and mediums connected to the story of the exhibition?
Sure. And I'm not qualified qualified to speak for either of them and their
Sure.
wonderful work. And I think their work also really comes out of this probing of emotions and memory and sometimes areas of stress or uncertainty. And in the works that they did in this exhibition, they really actually, I think, help ground and tie this exhibition really strongly with the body, with the feeling of kind of multiple stories overlapping. So I'm really grateful to have their contributions in the show.
Great, thank you. And since we talked about collaboration briefly, but maybe we expand more, usually we see artists conducting exhibitions or their art on their own. What was your definition of collaboration before, and how did it evolve now after this experience? Yeah, Minsu, what was collaboration for you before, and how did the definition of it collaborate before and after this experience?
I did collaboration like a year ago with other discipline friends, and at that moment I thought like it was we all five had working in one title, one project, and after that project was done, I was like, it's done, and I'm not really into this collaboration again. But I think for this residency, and I liked the title "Two Thoughts That Do Thing." So I think the title itself gave me kind of an inspiration to think about what that means, and there's lots of possibilities to kind of develop in different ways. So I think it was a collaboration for like a title and collaborating with Joanna's work, but also for me, like, I think I'm gonna keep developing my like portfolio or my work with same thing, and I think this tapestry work would be just like a starting point work, and I think that was the difference between the collaboration I did before and in each residency.
Okay, great. What about you? You said you have previous collaborations. Did something change for you from the first one to the second?
I mean, every time something changes, I think but I guess, in terms of my work, I think I've realized that in the last few years that I do love to connect photography with technology, because 2 years ago I was in another collaborative project, and then I was a question like Google privacy, and this was my my approach to question like the online privacy and how secure is that. So and I found it so interesting that this year again I find ways to to question a bit our relationship with technology, and also I think as an artist I love to integrate that in my work. But I think there are some things which I've discovered about me also when I collaborate, is that I do get shaped, and my work gets also influenced and inspired by the people around me.
Okay, so you get the inspiration from others.
Yes, it's like you get inspired from their work, or maybe something which they said, and then it made me question. So because in 4 weeks obviously we have so many talks,
Yes.
like either as a group or like by one-to-one with someone else. So I think it's impossible not to get for your work not to get shaped by others.
Yes.
So I think this is the beauty of
And you allow them
collaboration.
to be shaped.
I think this is beautiful that
Yeah.
you allow your work to get shaped by other people. Yeah.
What about you, Alan?
I don't think that my definition of collaboration has changed. Where it was starting a collaboration from a different point, from not a common theme or a common interest, but from being people together in a space. And that was really valuable, and I think I've been able to make connections that I look forward to maintaining and really good friends that I've really if most of us made separate pieces of work, they all are very influenced by each other, by the other works and other things that people have said in conversation. So I think a lot of the collaboration of this show, beyond the collaborative aspect of a group show that's always there, is actually not shown, which doesn't mean that it's not just as rich, but actually was the fundamentals towards the creation of the work.
Yeah, so about seeing
Yeah.
What was a peak moment, so what was a peak moment in the collaboration where you felt like, oh, we have to do something, or was there any kind of peak moment where you thought, okay, we have to push through this moment?
I think it was quite smooth, and
Okay.
after like Baldwin like hopped on his phrase, I think it was really smooth. And I think like after it was time for us to kind of discuss about the idea and title, and because we felt like some days are really not productive days, because we didn't do a thing for our collaboration. That was the most kind of stressed, or like we have to push ourselves to do something. I think that was about, because after we're working, we're just like doing some pieces. I thought it was quite smooth. I don't know how Joanna and Alan and thought, but I think it was quite smooth.
Okay.
Yeah, we agree.
You think it was
Yeah,
like, so after the idea came, things rolled kind of.
yeah, I think everyone knew like in their own place what to do and what's next.
Yeah. Okay, and after this experience, what would you say to each other?
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I would like to add
Yeah.
on this, obviously I think I'm very thankful for the people which I've met here, and I think when you collaborate with artists, they do leave a part of them inside you, and it's gonna stay there. So I think for that I am grateful. Yeah.
And then so
Yeah,
What
thank
would you
you
say?
too. And so, I think we did in our ways to kind of express the phrase, and we tried to kind of collaborate, considering each other. Yeah, I thought it was really nice, and there was less conflict about how you're going to express our works.
Great, thank you. So I think we'll open the floor to questions from the audience here. Anyone would like to share a question? Yes, we have a hand raised there.
I just wanted to ask something a little bit about your expectations for this residency program, because on my side it's always when I'm going into something new and I'm knowing that I am going to be in a new experience for me, then I'm thinking that I'm having expectations and I'm setting the scene and what's going to happen in my head, and I wanted to ask if you had this, and if then there was something like a disappointment or like something like a new spark which you were realizing like, oh wow, so I didn't expect that, it's something positive, or if you were like expecting something other and you were like a little bit disappointed or had some kind of negative feelings, and how you deal with that, if there was, because we all know that collaboration is always like, having like stepping sometimes a little bit backwards to like communicate together. So what were your expectations, and were you like some time like disappointed, and how did you deal with it? Yeah.
So what were the expectations before you started, and then how were they met in reality?
Okay, I think we actually had this talk in the first day with Christopher about expectations.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm having a deja vu, talking about expectations again. But to be honest, I think none of us had expectations from how this exhibition will look like, because we've seen each other then for the first time. And but we did set up some points, like some, let's say, things which we would like as a team to do. But in terms of like art approach or creativity or what we will do exactly, there was zero expectations, I think. For me, for example, in terms of my work, I didn't even have no idea that I would be doing this. So I can tell you from the start that I had no idea how to do this. So I guess I had zero expectations that I would be creating my piece of art in this way. Not even this topic. I didn't even know how to do this. So
Yeah, I think it's great, you know, that because when I'm thinking about myself, I would have like some kind of maybe problems to like go free-minded in this kind of situation. So I was just curious how you would think about it. Was it the same for you, Aina?
I think when I started the residency, I assumed that I would have a place to do some work that wasn't just my apartment, and that I would be able to meet and work with some people, and that there would be a show at the end, which I thought would be a really excellent kind of end to me spending some time here and doing work, and all of those things were achieved, which was great. And I think there are, especially in a collaboration that isn't predetermined, there are a lot of communication errors and a lot of differing viewpoints and approaches, and those kind of always come into play, particularly when there isn't a previously designated reason for you to be working together. And so we worked through that, and I think that we were able to come through with a show that I think we can all be really proud of.
Great. Okay, we have another question.
Yeah, thanks for the wonderful talk. And just as you mentioned about the title of the exhibition, I also find it very interesting, and also it makes me wonder what are the emotions like behind these exhibitions. Because when I first came across these like phrases, it makes me like think about what kind of emotion could be. It looks like plain at first, and then you find out it's actually, for me, I feel kind of healing inside these artworks, and the feeling of development. But maybe I could be wrong, so I'm wondering like how you feel the emotions like within your own work and within like these exhibitions.
I think that was one of the strengths of the title, and one of the reasons why we felt like it could really embody something that we were doing as a group, because it has so many levels and there are so many possibilities to read into it. And I think one of the saddest things is to go into an art gallery or an art space and for it to say this is what the art is, and this is how it is, and this is how you should think about it. And I think that one of our big focuses was to be able to give viewers that opportunity to kind of have, kind of work through the title and maybe think about it or maybe not. I think, it was quite integral. We took a really kind of purposefully simple approach so that there could be multiple interpretations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Minsu, what emotions did you feel in this exhibition? Or what kind of emotions was it expressing?
Like for me, or like what am I expecting the audience, or what I felt?
Yeah, I think for the audience, what kind of emotion, like she was talking as someone who attended the exhibition, there were certain emotions that surfaced. What kind of emotions were you, addressing as well in this exhibition?
Or also experiencing.
Or experiencing?
I was expecting for audience to feel like different meanings can be combined in one title, and it can be really interpreted in different ways. So there's painting, there's pencil drawing, there's textile, there's photographs, and also performance. So there's really kind of various ways to kind of feel the difference in one phrase. So I thought, I cannot really define like how to feel for the audience
For
because
your
I don't want to for my art.
Yeah. Your own emotion.
One small gallery. Because I thought like photograph and painting and textile and performance is like a really different characters of arts in one gallery. But I think it's really matching well. So yeah, I found there's really different mediums in one place. So that's the character of in between six residency now.
Yes.
That's going on.
Okay, thank you. Great. Right, I think we're coming towards the end, but it's always lovely to hear your stories. We're very happy to have shared this experience with you, having you here for 4 weeks, seeing the results of your collaboration. So thank you we're also grateful that you have been part of our community here, and we hope we stay connected and see you again soon. And we wish you all the best in your next endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you so much to those who are there. My name is Aina Nakamura. I'm a singer, composer, and performer. Because I cannot be there, I'm recording these answers of mine. And I also want to thank those who came out to the opening of our exhibition, Tongue Follows Toothache. I'm the person who presented a performance work. So my artistic background is I've been trained in music as a singer. I've been trained in Western classical voice, jazz music, and Okinawan traditional music. And I was active as a singer in Japan for many years. And at one point in my life, I decided to formally educate myself again in the United States, where I'm originally from. And in New York, I discovered theater and body movements. I was a part of an experimental theatrical project by director Dmitry Krimov. By being a part of avant-garde theater, my language opened up. I was connected to my body in a way that I was not in conventional Eastern and Western musical form. And I needed to investigate my own art form. I also discovered body movements. I have a connection with Buddha community because Kazuo Ono, who created the genre of conceptual dance Buddha, was a gymnastic teacher at my high school. And once I discovered how body related to my voice and how it changed my listening practice from the pure listening to the sound to embracing myself and the wider space, I needed to knock the door of Buto again. So with these discovering of experimental theater and Buto, I'm creating my own art form through voice and body and reaching out from there, reaching out from my complex stories, from my transnationality, from my ambiguity. And I consider myself as an artist for about 20 years. I look young, but I am not that young at all. I have a 20-year career as a musician, but then my new art form, as for that, I have about 3 years of career making, and I wish to continue this path. As for the second question, so I came to Berlin in mid-September as a Fulbright grantee in the arts. So I'm supported by the German government and the American government for my art project. Soon as I arrived here, and after dealing with registration of address, etc., I wanted to meet with other artists. I wanted a platform for me to create and present while I'm getting used to the city. So it was perfect timing for me that I started this residency at the very beginning of October. Yeah. And yes, I'm planning to stay here until mid-July during this Fulbright residency. Oh, yes, I have. As for the third question, I have been in many collaborative projects before, but it was my first time to work with painters and visual artists, actually. And for me, because my previous collaborative projects were with, for example, musicians, dancers, and actors who have really influenced me. It was very a new experience for me to work closely with Aloe, because I would focus on specific movements and try to weave the story from there. Because I am a singer and performer, and I use my whole body and think about the wider space when I create my own art, focusing on just one thing was a very rich experience. And also, I wanted to, my personal goal during the residency was to add a new language to my art grammar. And I think I did added one or two. Technically one, but conceptually probably two. So I'm so grateful for that. Yes, it was wonderful to work with Aloe. And also I listened to the stories by Valley, and Valley's stories will remain through my art, in my life as an anti-war artist and being. So as for the results of my work, now that my collaborative works, video works, and my performance at the opening is over now, and I guess I'm still processing the results, because I create my own art through my presence. I would have to first just give my everything, but also embrace the work taking time. And I'm still processing, especially the final performance that I did at the opening. It was my piece promoting artwork, embracing my complexity and embracing my own question that why do humans repeat the histories of violence and war? And I'm still continuing my question, but I guess through my performance, if I can say one thing, I think I've grown. I am a grown-up woman. I'm almost 40 years old, to my surprise. And I think I really embraced myself. That is not only about positivity, but negativity as well. And be honest about that through my performance. Through my performance, I really try to embrace my complexity. And because unless I do that, I wouldn't be able to hold on to my anti-war stance, I thought, as I talked at the opening. So I am glad about the results of my works. So as for the fifth question, congratulations to all of you. We've worked, it was a 4-week residency, but our creative process was only 3 weeks. And we spent time not only through creative process, but eating together, having discussions, very sensitive political topics as well, and also just everyday conversations as well. And I'm grateful that I met you all. So thank you. And I guess I would wish best wishes to each of us, each of our artistic life and just life in general. Best wishes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mitsu.
Thank you, Mason. Safe flight tomorrow, Mason.
Don't can you stay, Mitsu? Mitsu? Yeah, quickly. Take it. Take it, Hannah. Yes, just take good. She paused for you.
And it's just there, so yeah.
She paused exactly.
Thank you very much, everyone,
Chris.
for
Yeah, it was really interesting. It was interesting to hear about, this during the exhibition last time. Yeah, but yeah, it's really nice actually. I heard like so much more.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
nice.
something also related to her question just now here. She had a question. I think most of this work, it's like small, but at the same time, it hides so much. It's so meaningful,
Yeah.
And I think this is also very interesting how small things sometimes, but they hide,
Yeah.
things which we cannot see or So I think also this kind of
I can tell, yeah, like the first time when we saw it, we were like, we had our interpretations. It wasn't something, how to call it, like something close to your heart. Then when we heard it from you as well, when we discussed it as well, now that we heard about it, it's like, like I've watched every single one of them, and it's like, I don't know, it becomes very close.